Hello and welcome. I am Yogesh. This is the fifth episode of Getting Started with Lowcoder in Easy Steps. Let's continue from where we left off in the previous episode. As you would recall from the previous episode, we have created the add to do and we have added the feature to allow user to add their to do. Now we will add the functionality to allow user to edit to do and a feature to allow user to delete to do. Okay, how edit to do API would work, we need to first understand that. So let's go to the Mockoon playground, and over here, as you can see, for editing to do, you can either call put API or you can either call patch API. I'll be using the patch API method. Now let's first create that API. Now first thing that we need to do to allow user to edit is to store current to do item into a temporary state. So let's first add a temporary state. So I will say temporary state. I will just name the temporary ending anyways. Now that we have created the temporary state, we will have to perform necessary steps to assign the current item to this temporary state when the user clicks on the edit button. Let us add necessary events. So I will click on add event for the edit button. Over here I will say set temporary state value. I will select to do item. I will say set value, and over here I will say current item. That's it. The moment we do this, it becomes clear to Lowcoder that we need to assign the current item values to the temporary state over here. After that, we need to also open a modal, but yet as we have not created a modal, we will not add that event at this point. So now let's first create a modal. But before we create a modal, we need to select this form and copy it to memory, because we'll be using this same form in the modal. Now let's go into insert and insert modal and just drag and drop it over here. This will show you a modal, which is again a container component, and I will paste the form inside this. Now let's update the caption, and I will say edit to do entry. I do not want to allow the user to edit the title of to do, so I will select this title and I will set its read only property to I will just set it to true. One very important thing that you need to do when you copy a form like this is to update the button, the submit button form. As you can see here, it is pointing to form 1, which is the original form over here. We do not want to access this form, we want to access this form. So I will go over here and select form 2. This is the very first thing that you need to do whenever you copy a form and use it anywhere. Now we need to have a way of loading the to do information from the item to do. For that, we need to first select this component and set the default value over here. It would be ToDo item dot value dot. The moment you say this, it will show this as an error. The reason it will show this as an error is because if you observe, this is a temporary state which is having null value. It does not have anything. So if you check it over here, this is empty. The value is null. So let's, to make it easy for us, what we need to do is we just need to click on any edit buttons. I'll just click on this edit button. As soon as I do that, it will execute necessary events that are associated with the button, and one of the event is to assign the values. So now you can see the values have been updated in this ToDo item temporary state. So now we'll be able to access the values, the items and also their elements. Now let's again open the modal and select this. When we select this, and if you click over here, now you can see that the error is vanished and it shows that everything is good to go. I'll just copy this. I will go over here and in the default value I will paste it, and I will change the title to due date. Again I will go to priority. I will go to default value. I will paste the string that we copied previously, select title and say priority. Yet we also need to have one more control over here, which is a switch control, which will allow us to mark a to-do as completed. For that we need to insert the switch component. Let's search for switch and insert it over here. I will set the size, the width equal of this component the same as the rest of the components. I will change the name to, label to completed. Set the distance to 20% and assign the default value. So again I will paste what we had copied previously, and I will set the element or property to be completed. Now we will again go to this edit button and add an event handle to show this modal. So I will say add. I'll go over here, I will select controller component. Here I will select modal 1 and say open modal. That's it. Let's try it. I will click on this and voila, here it comes. As we have set this control to be read only, user will not be able to change anything into it. Now let's program the submit button to update. To program the submit button of the modal, we also need to have an API that we will have to use to update. So for that, I will just copy, just duplicate this particular API and I will rename it to update ToDo. Now let me select it. I'll have to make necessary changes over here as per what we have over here. So we need to set the method to be patch over here, and we also need to pass the ID of the ToDo that needs to be updated. So let's go over here and set the HTTP method to patch, then say oblique and then I will use the temporary state value dot ID. So this will pass the ID of the ToDo, and we also need to update the, I'll just enlarge this a bit. We also need to update this to the respective names that we have over here. Like for example, it is input 2, so here we need to have input 2. The false value over here will have to be replaced with switch value. Yeah. This jumping of this is really tough. As you can see, the value shows up over here. Priority is none because it is pointing to a different select. I will say select 2, and now we have it. The priority shows up and date will be 2, and the date would show up over here. Now we have set up the update ToDo API. Let's check it. I will click on this. Let's use the last one. Okay, but before we check it, we need to add one more thing over here, and that is to add an event handle over here that on success it should run this, because we had duplicated add ToDo. This event is already there, but otherwise you should add it. Now I will click on this button. It will show this item over here. I will change the due date. Let's make it 31st March 25. Let's set the priority to 10. And let's say it is not yet completed and click on submit. Oops, I forgot to update the events in submit button for the modal. So let's do that. I remove this. I will say add, and I will run a query and I will say update ToDo. Once the query is run, I will add another event and I will say controller component. I will say modal 1 and I will say close modal. Let's try it again. I will click on this item. As you can see, all the values are loaded I will change the priority to 8. I will set the complete status to completed, and I will say submit. So this will run the update to do, and once the update to do is executed, it will automatically call the API. The API will update the content on the server and it will refresh the list, and as you can see, the things have been changed over here. Okay. Now that this is functioning, let's add the functionality for deleting an item. To delete an item, we would have to do two things. First thing is that we would have to assign the current item to the temporary state over here, and then we'll have to confirm the delete action with the user, and if the user confirms the action, then only the item should be deleted, otherwise the item should not be deleted. So for that, we will again duplicate this update to do data query, rename it to delete to do, select it. For the method, we'll have to select delete. We do not need anything over here, so let's set it to none, because we just need to send this using the delete method, the ID of the to do that we need to delete, and once it successfully completes, we will again run the data query get all to dos. Let's select the delete button. Over here I have set these values in advance, but I'll just explain them again. What I am doing is I am setting the temporary state of to do, okay, to the variable to do, and I will say current item, and then I have created a very small JavaScript for this. This JavaScript does nothing, but it will first confirm the action with the user, and based on user's confirmation, it will call the data query and use the run function over here. Just close it. Okay, let's test this on the last item over here, and here you can see it shows, of course the thing is not coming in the screen, but it shows, are you sure you want to delete this to do? Okay, and cancel. If I say okay, it will delete the to do, and there you see the last item is removed. So we have implemented all the necessary features for the ToDo app, okay, that we had seen previously. Adding a new to do item, editing an existing to do, and deleting the to do. So this completes the whole cycle of creating an app, and our ToDo app is now fully functional and completed. Once the app is completed, we also need to share it with other people to use it, unless it is just an app that we are going to use it for ourselves. So the best way to do that is to go to the preview button over here, open the menu and say publish. As soon as you publish the app, you can get a URL over here, and now you can use this particular URL and give it to anybody who has the credentials for Lowcoder to use it. If you want to make this app available to any user, then for that you need to click on the share button over here, and then click and enable make the app public, anyone can view. You can also publish this app on on the marketplace. So let's say publish this app on the marketplace. Now you can copy this link and share this link with anybody. I will say finish. This concludes the tutorial and the series of getting started with Lowcoder in easy steps. Thank you for watching.